Hello, everyone. So, thank you to Esty for arranging. As Esty mentioned, my name is Jonathan Zirirng. I'm the Sgan Rosh Beit Midrash of the YU Kollel. I'm the rabbinic assistant here at Bayit. So just want to talk for a little bit about the Parsha. So in this week's Parsha, we discuss we have the saga of Bilaam. Balak is afraid, the king of Moab is afraid as he sees that the Jews are coming closer to Israel, and therefore his land, which borders Israel, they're afraid. And the Torah tells us that Balak, in an attempt to fend off disaster, he invites Bilaam, he invites this sorcerer, this prophet, to come and to curse the Jews. And after going back and forth, so eventually on the second round, so Bilaam does go with him. But on the way, a little incident happened, a story happens, which is the favorite incident of at least my children, where as Bilaam is on his way to Balak, so he gets into a fight with his donkey. Right? And as he's going, right, first his donkey moves one way off the road, so he hits the donkey, then he continues, and the donkey moves off the road again, and eventually they're stuck, and there's nowhere to go, and he keeps hitting the donkey, and the donkey opens its mouth and begins to talk. And this is, for my kids, their favorite part of the Parsha, right? It's the part of the Parsha that could come out of a cartoon, right? It could come out of a movie where you have this talking donkey, and the donkey gets into this conversation and argument, and it's comical, because here you have this important person. He's a well-known, internationally known sorcerer. He's a prophet. Everyone wants him. The kings need him. He's supposed to be on top of the world, and here he is in an arguing match, in a screaming match, with his donkey, and the donkey says to him, "Why are you hitting me?" And then, I assume, if this had happened to any of us, at the moment at which our donkeys were to open their mouths, we would all be, right, surprised. We jump back, right? The first thing we would ask is, why is our donkey talking? Or how is our donkey talking? But instead, right, he just carries on a conversation with him, right, as if nothing has happened, right? And instead of the story focusing on why is there a talking donkey, the story focuses on the conversation that continues. And the donkey says to him, "Why are you hitting me?" And he says, "Because you moved off the road." And he said, "I know, but," or she says actually, right, the donkey's a she said, "But it's not my fault. Look, have I ever done this to you?" Right? And they start getting to a fight. They sound like a married couple, right? They're saying, "What have I ever done to you? Why are you upset at me?" Right? There must be good reason. Didn't you see the angel? Right? I didn't see the angel. I didn't realize there's good reason. Right? And the story goes on. And the Torah, it's the suspension of disbelief, right? No one at any point draws attention to the fact that this is weird, that there's a talking donkey in the story. And the story is so odd that some, like the Rambam, believe that the whole thing was a dream, while other commentaries think it actually happened. But whether it happened, whether it's a dream, the story is weird, right? The main character here is a talking donkey, and no one is even surprised. So you look at the Parsha and you ask, why? Right? Why is it that the centerpiece of this narrative, the centerpiece of this story, is something that's taken out of a Pixar or a Disney movie? Right? Why is it that the Torah what is it getting at? Why do we need to have Bilaam getting into a fight with his donkey? But I think the key to understanding it is to realize that this Parsha, this story, is actually a mirror Parsha. It's the opposite of another story which happened a long, long time ago in the Torah, and then it gives us a little bit of a clue. If you had a talking donkey, right, the first thing you'd ask is, why do I have a talking donkey? But what's the answer to the question? Why is there a talking donkey? How did that happen? Right? How is there a talking donkey? Right? Bilaam may never have questioned it. But let's ask the question, right? The talking donkey may be the one of the main characters in the Pixar movie Shrek. But why in Parshat Balak is that one of the main characters? Right? How did it happen? Right? So how did it happen? Right? How did it happen? How does the donkey talking? Right? So the Torah tells us that God opened the donkey's mouth. And that's the only plausible answer. Right? Vatiftach Hashem et pi ha'aton. God had opened the mouth of the donkey. Right? That's the only answer. Otherwise, how did we get to this point? But if you remember back, right, to another scene in the Torah, which is worthy of movies, / has been made into a movie, right? Specifically in the Ten Commandments, right? Sort of the classic biblical movie. When the main character in Torah, when Moshe enters the scene, right, it's dramatic, right? Whether it be Moshe or it be Charles Heston, whoever it might be, right? It's a dramatic moment. And God comes to Moshe. He comes to Moses and he said, I appoint you. I want you to lead the Jews out of Egypt. And Moshe says, I can't do it. I can't do it. I've never done this. It's not who I am. I'm a shepherd. I don't know how to speak. I stutter. Right? I can't give a Dvar Torah at a Shabbos table. Right? Much less am I becoming a diplomat. Am I becoming your spokesman to the most powerful king on the face of the planet. Right? That's not who I am. And they go back and forth and they argue. And it goes on for 7 days. Right? God is going back and forth with him. And at some point, God loses patience. And God says, look, I don't know what you're so worried about. Okay, so you've never spoken before. You're not a public speaker. Big deal. And this in the movie is very dramatic. But he says, right, Mi sampeh la'adam. Why do you care that you've never spoken? Who is it who gives mouth to human beings? And it's me. I'm God. I can do whatever I want. You think you can't talk? You think you can't convince Paro? Just watch. Here, I'll give you a magic stick. Right? I'll give you an assistant. I'll give you your brother Aaron, and you're going to go. And you're going to make biblical history, and you're going to make movie history, and you are going to have all these dramatic encounters with Paro that forever will be remembered. I gave a whole series. It was fun this year. In my pre-Pesach series this year was the Exodus in movies. Right? There's a reason that story has been made into many movies. Right? The Ten Commandments, The Prince of Egypt, a new one, Gods and Kings. It's because it's so good. It's so dramatic. Right? And Hashem tells Moshe, God tells Moshe, don't worry about it. I will make you the most famous character who ever lived in my drama, in my movie. It's no big deal. I give out the roles, I do the casting, right? But I can one-up the best director in the world. I can also give you acting talent if you don't have it. Right? I don't need to find talent. Right? I can give you the talent. No big deal. Mi sampeh la'adam. I can do it for you. And then Moshe becomes this amazing orator. And his speeches are remembered in Torah, in movies, in literature. It becomes this amazing scene, this amazing character, inspiring for everybody. But what we forget is that Moshe almost didn't take the role. This almost didn't happen because he was scared. And until God intervened and said, don't worry about it because I can do whatever I want and I can give you a mouth. You think you don't have a mouth? You think you don't know how to speak? Just watch how eloquent you could be. All it takes is for you to take a leap of faith and believe that I can turn you into the lead star in an award-winning movie. And Moshe has no choice but to accept, and he becomes Moshe. He becomes the person who can argue with kings and can lead the Jewish people to freedom. And Moshe becomes the example of someone who has the will, who wants to do what's right, but is afraid that he can't. And God tells him that's not a big deal. If the will is there, if you want to do what's right, leave the rest up to me. I can find the talent. I can find the abilities. But the Midrash tells us that Moshe had a mirror character. That Moshe had a mirror character. The end of the Torah tells us that Lokam Hinavi Od. Right? There's no prophet amongst the Jewish people, Yisrael. But the Midrash says, but there was a prophet who was like him. There was one prophet like him. And that was Bilaam. Bilaam was the prophet of the nations of the world. Right? He was the one that the kings sought after. Balak sent a letter, and if you ever look at a map, it was far. And if you look at a map now and you want to know what it looks like, so Balak lives basically the south of Jordan, and he sent a message to Bilaam, who lived in Iraq, and he walked, and rode his talking donkey, right, for days to get there. He was internationally known, but what was he known for? He was known for his powerful eloquence, that he could speak. And Balak tells him, everyone knows one thing about you. You bless someone, they're blessed. You curse them, they're cursed. Right? You are a magician with words. But what was the problem? He's the mirror of Moshe. He has the power. But his will, his desires are negative. They're twisted. So how is God going to teach Bilaam that what's important is not the skill set you have, but what you use it for? Or, as for anyone who's read Harry Potter at any point, it's more my generation, but as Dumbledore once said to Harry, right, it's not, right, it's not our talents that make us who we are. Right? It's what we do with them. And this was my roommate's favorite scene in Harry Potter. How is he going to tell Bilaam that it doesn't matter, you're eloquent? Not only are you eloquent, you're magical. You can say words, you can bless people, you can curse people. But that's not what's important in life. What's important is what you do with it. The way he was going to do that was he was going to turn the world on its head. And he was going to say, you who are this magician, normally you're known for your words. Watch. You think you're going to be able to curse the Jews? You're going to bless them. You're not going to have a choice, because I'm going to switch the words that you think are going to come out of your mouth. And instead, you know who's going to get the freedom of speech? Your donkey. Your donkey, who should be a dumb animal, suddenly is going to be eloquent, is going to be rebuking you, is going to be telling you the truth, is going to be telling you what the angel wants and what God wants. So God says, I'm going to flip it. You're the opposite of Moshe. Moshe, all he was lacking was the skill set. But the will was there, the desire to help the Jews. He just thought he was the wrong person. And God said, look, don't worry about it. If your heart is there, I'll find the skills. I'll find the talents. Misam pela adam. Who gave human beings a mouth but me? So I'll give it to you. You'll be fine. They'll make movies about you. And Bilaam, you think you're so powerful. You think you're so magical. You can do anything. You're internationally known for your magical eloquence. You're not going to have any choice in what you say. You're going to become a fool, because you're going to be invited to curse and you're going to bless. Your worst enemy, you're going to become the greatest source of blessing. And instead of you being granted eloquence, I'm going to turn your life into a Disney movie. Right? You're going the laughing stock. You're going to have a talking donkey who one-ups you in debate. Right? Who's going to one-up you in dialogue. Who's going to tell you, right, that you didn't see the angel. You, who should be a prophet. You, who should see angels. Your donkey saw it and interpreted it, understood what the angel wanted, and is going to... Honestly, right, the scene is hysterical. You have this person, right, you imagine the most powerful, the most brilliant person you can think of, with 3 PhDs, and they get one up, they get, right, shut down in debate by a donkey. Right? It's so absurd as to draw attention to the problem in the scene. And the reason, therefore, God makes this scene so, again, picture perfect, so movie perfect, so cinematic, right, so incredible, is because he needs to draw a contrast. And when Chazal say Moshe and Bilaam are mirror characters, one amongst the Jews and one amongst the Umot HaOlam, one amongst the nations of the world, they're telling you something very powerful. That it isn't about our skills. It isn't about how talented we are. We were dealt the deck of cards when we were born, and as we go through life, different skills we have, our strengths ebbs and wane, our talents ebb and wane. That's not up to us. That's up to God. God says, look, what talents you have, what abilities you have at any given stage in life, that's not up to you. I'll give you what you need at every stage in life. What's up to you is what you want to do with them, how you use them. Moshe, you have the will to save the Jewish people, so fine. You don't know how to talk, you don't know how to be eloquent, you don't know how to inspire. Don't worry about it. Your stories, your speeches will become famous. They will make billion-dollar movies about you. You will leave this amazing poetry and prose in the Torah that will inspire all three of the major religions till the end of time. Don't worry about it. You have the will, you care, that's all that matters. Bilaam, you think that the world will bend to you because you're talented? Please. At a moment's notice, I'll flip it, and you will be crippled. You won't be able to do what you want. You will end up being the unwitting pawn to bless the Jewish people instead of curse them. And I'm going to humiliate you because I'm going to show you that abilities, eloquence, if I wanted to do, I'll take it from you and I'll give it to your donkey. Right? I'll turn it into a Pixar film and that'll be fine. And you'll be humiliated because you relied on your talents. You thought you could outsmart God. And that's the message which I think we all need. Because often we define ourselves based on our abilities. Whatever they are. Physical strength, eloquence, the ability to be a conversationalist, whatever we might do, right? Artistic beauty, musical beauty, vocal abilities, whatever it might be. We define ourselves by our abilities. But then what happens when, we don't have that ability for whatever reason, right? I'm a rabbi, I speak for a living, right? But what happens, right? It's the middle of the Toronto winter, right? I didn't grow up here, right? And suddenly I lose my voice for a week. And then what am I supposed to do? Am I not myself anymore, right? I'm not me. Someone's athletic, right? And they break their leg playing sports. Someone, right, is a singer, right? And they have a sore throat. Are you not you? Of course you're you. Right? Your talents aren't who you are. They're the deck that God has given you. But if at some point that's not what you have, you're still you. What's important isn't that. What's important is what do you do with those abilities? And that's why those two moments become those worthy of a movie. Those that are so inspiring, that are so perfect. Right? Moshe on the one hand, where God tells him, don't worry, misampeh la'adam, I can make you famous. And Bilaam, where he says, don't rely too much on abilities, because I'll humiliate you and I'll make your donkey more talented than you, because your will is poisoned. Your desires are evil. And therefore you're worthless. You're worse than worthless. You're taking the gifts I gave you and you're using them against what should happen. And that's what Chazal saw in this mirror between Moshe and Bilaam. They saw that very powerful message, that profound message that we are not what we can do, we are what we want to do and what we try to do and the direction in which we're going. How successful we are is not up to us. How successful we are is up to God. What we need to do is make sure that all energy that we have and all the talents we have, we direct towards the things that are actually valuable. And if we do that, then God does the rest. And He gives us credit for doing our best. And to capture that, we have on the one hand this amazing, uplifting scene of Moshe and the comical scene of Bilaam at the opposite side, because the Torah doesn't just tell us things, it shows it to us. It tells us stories that help us instill it in our hearts and not just in our minds. So the Torah leaves us with these two stories, with these two moments, to make sure that they continue to inspire us to not do the best we can with our abilities, which of course we have to, but to make sure that we use those abilities in the direction that is valuable. Okay, thank you for inviting me.